Today on Total Maine, new insight. Hundreds of records revealing previously unknown details about October's mass shootings in Lewiston and the response. In moments, we have reaction to this material from the gunman's former best friend. And preparing for primary day, we sit down with both Republicans vying to challenge Jared Golden, Mike Sobolewski and Austin Theriault. Plus, we go in the arena with analysis on races up and down the ballot. Hello and welcome to a special edition of Total Maine here on this Sunday, June 9th. I'm Terry Stackhouse. Thank you so much for joining us. Since Friday afternoon, the 8 Investigates team has been combing through thousands of pages of records on October's mass shootings in Lewiston. The Department of Public Safety publishing 3,000 pages of documents just like this, detailing evidence that was collected, witness accounts, and scrutiny of the manhunt from law enforcement. Now, if you've tried to access this material through the Maine Department of Public Safety's website this weekend, you may have seen this message here. We are currently experiencing some technical issues. Once they've been resolved, the documents will be available again. We're told that these records won't be available again until sometime tomorrow. We have preserved, though, much of this material, and we are here to recap some of the most important items today.
We're going to continue to fight on their behalf to bring this individual to justice, because we know that that has an impact on starting that healing process. It's not a slam dunk. It's not when we got them, now everybody's better. This is going to take a while, right? It's going to take a while for communities to work through. It's going to take forever for families to work through. You lose somebody that you love. That's a big, big deal.
That was Maine Department of Public Safety Commissioner Mike Soschuk on the morning of October 27th, 2 days into the manhunt and just hours before the shooter Robert Card would be found dead. These documents are giving us insight into that process. We're going to start with the Manhunt Operations After Action Review. This document evaluates the performance of all 16 tactical teams involved in the search for Robert Card. It also includes an independent outside review from Pennsylvania State Police. As we heard in testimony before the Lewiston Commission, there was confusion in the immediate aftermath of these shootings due to so many officers from numerous agencies self-deploying.
The lines of communication in response to this scene were unacceptable. He briefly explained to someone inside that I knew Robert Card and that I actively served with him in the Army Reserve Unit. To my surprise, I spoke with that member of the state police for less than 2 minutes.
That was Matthew Noyes, a deputy from the Androscoggin County Sheriff's Office. He was also in Robert Card's Army Reserve Unit. He told the Lewiston Commission in March that communication was poor during the manhunt. Here's what's stated in that after-action review. Formalized tactical command, we know, was established at 2 a.m. on October 26th. The review says that it would have been beneficial to establish that sooner. It also says that tactical teams in the future should ensure that they have proper equipment to respond to critical incidents. And it notes that some of the equipment used by Maine State Police was very outdated, according to the records. The review also looks at the decision not to conduct a canine track from Card's vehicle after that was found at the Lisbon boat launch until 4 hours after that discovery.
The goal of a canine track is to find the individual, right? But you also have to be able to win the encounter. And given the weaponry, given the technology that we at least at this time believe the individual possessed, that would be an unwinnable situation for a canine team to be tracking.
Sergeant Greg Roy there from Maine State Police responding to questions in February about why they did not deploy their canine units in the first night of the search. Officials said at that time they believed that the suspect, a skilled sharpshooter, had a night vision scope and that they risked being ambushed. The internal review concludes that the manhunt overall was a success, and the independent review from Pennsylvania State Police stated locating the suspect in 2 days, given the totality of the environment and terrain, was significant and, in their words, pretty quick. Now, we invited anyone from the Maine Department of Public Safety to join today's program to discuss the contents of these documents. They told us that they couldn't accommodate that request because right now they're trying to get the website back up and running so that you can see all these documents. Other law enforcement officials named in these records did not respond to our request for comment. But today we're hearing again from Sean Hodgson, Robert Card's former best friend and fellow reservist. He's the one who reported concerns about Card in September. Hodgson telling us that he agrees with the decision by police not to immediately do a canine search of the area in Lisbon where Card's car was found due to that ambush risk. He also wants the unnamed friend that we just learned about through an FBI memo on Friday, who was concerned with Card's behavior at a shooting range earlier in the day on October 25th, to come forward.
Yeah, because they knew he had weapons. He knew they had a thermal. I don't know what they call it, night vision. He had a thermal scope. Just to be clear, it tracks your heat signature, and I'd be very scared of that. The first question I asked my supervisor after I heard about the active shooting, I called my boss. I asked her, I'm like, is Robert Card at work? Is his car in the parking lot and his truck gone? Because that would have told me it wasn't him. And he's not one to be late. He's usually an hour early for work every single day. I wish that person would actually come forward and say, yes, this was true. This is what happened. This is where we were. This is what we did. And this is what got me worried. Because I want the commission and the Army and everyone to know the absolute truth.
I saw his feet and I saw the green laser light that he was using, as he was reloading or...
He had a scope of some kind or a laser light attachment?
A laser light attachment, yeah. That's all I saw. I didn't see the shooter. I didn't see his face. All I saw was from his ankles down and then the laser light as it flashed around.
Sorry.
That's when somebody who was hiding in the utility closet happened to notice where the lights were. They shut the lights off to the building. I'm pretty confident that even though our people had already been hurt and killed, I'm pretty sure that probably saved more lives, maybe even my own.
That was survivor Ryan D'Alessandro less than 48 hours after that deadly attack was carried out. He remembers seeing a laser attachment on Robert Card's gun. These documents also giving us new insight into Card. We know the weapons that he owned and were taken from his home. Again, a new detail that we're just learning from this FBI memo that we mentioned at the start of this broadcast is that Card went to a shooting range, according to the memo, with a friend hours before the shooting. It states that based on an interview with this friend, whose name is redacted, that the friend left due to Card's erratic behavior. The FBI memo also touches on an interaction with Robert Card's father, Robert Card Sr., saying that he didn't want to talk. The document also cites Maine State Police saying that Card belonged to a bowling group until February of 2023. And it mentions an ex-girlfriend involved in a bowling league who was supposed to be there at just in time on the night of the shooting. Some of the top subject notes on that memo also include a suicide note, mentioning a desire to play cornhole with his girlfriend and to be left alone. Our total coverage on the Lewiston shooting continues on WMTW.com and the app for Maine Total Coverage. There you can read what's inside some of these documents that were released Friday, as well as a collection of all the reporting on the shooting so far. Still to come here on this Sunday, the race to challenge Congressman Jared Golden. Up next, an in-depth Q&A with the Republican candidates, Austin Theriault and Mike Sobolewski. And once we've heard from those candidates, who will win on Tuesday? The hosts of the In the Arena podcast make their predictions when Total Maine returns.